our next presenter is on preventing transportation-related pedestrian deaths and serious injuries. It's from the Kentucky Office of Highway Safety, and they'll share an update on transportation safety initiatives, partnerships to improve pedestrian safety throughout Kentucky. The presenter is Bill Bell, who is the Executive Director of the Kentucky Office of Highway Safety, Kentucky Transportation Cabinet, and he also serves as our KSPAN co-chair for Transportation Safety Committee. So if you're interested in participating with the Transportation Committee, either see me, Bill, or Carol. So we're looking for people that are interested in participating on that committee. So thank you. And with that, I'll turn it over to Bill.
Thanks, Steve. All right. Okay, we're going to talk about pedestrian safety today, but just want to thank Zena and thanks to all the CPS coordinators for what you all do. And under the, I don't know if you all looked into the new bill that's out there. We're going past the FAST Act, which is the authorization, going down to the bipartisan infrastructure law, which is called bill. So we're right in the middle of training this week. So every time they say bill, I'm looking up. I was like, no, it's the new law. So they're now mandating that we give away more car seats in this law. So I'll check that out. Okay. Let's look at, does everybody know what this is? Does everybody receive this on a daily basis? If not, get with me afterwards and I'll make sure you're on the list. There's a daily fatality update that goes out usually every day. Like holidays doesn't go out. There's some certain days it does not go out, but for the most part, it's out every weekday. And, you know, some things to key on here. You look at alcohol related fatalities. Now this was from Tuesday, so it goes through Monday the 13th. So we were at 17% on alcohol related fatalities. However, you can't see it right here, but it's because of the, let's see. Well, the screen is blocking it. However, the pedestrian fatalities were at 14%. So very much overrepresented. And so the Deputy Secretary, Mike Hancock, has challenged us to come up with either new ideas, new PSAs, new ways to reach the public on pedestrian safety. I know this is something we talk about every October. That's Pedestrian Safety Month. And so this year we're looking at April, which is Distracted Driving Month. And so we're incorporating some pedestrian safety into that. We'll talk about that in a minute. And so another thing, some of the things to look at, you know, right now we're lower on fatalities than last year. However, as somebody mentioned, there is a slight delay in these numbers. Right now, I think last year we were at about 55% on restraint use, belt not in use. So occupant protection is still a hot topic. I know that, I mean, it will be until everyone's buckled up, but last year we were at 55. And so I think we had, I don't want to give the wrong number, but it was about 180 fatalities because people just were not buckled up. And it's just, that's really not, I mean, that's totally preventable. And that's what we're here to do. So we had an assessment done last year, And so part of this assessment was just looking at our program and seeing, you know, what we need to do, what are our shortcomings. So number one, hire a program coordinator, which we've done. And there's 3 or 4 other items which we're in the process of doing now. One is working with communities and partners and developing more partnerships. I know we will be having a summit with the city of Louisville. And so either, well, the mayor as well as some of his top folks in public safety are meeting with our secretary, deputy secretary, Keith Lovin. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Keith. So, and so Keith is our statewide bike ped coordinator. And so we need to attack this problem, and Louisville has about half or 40% of pedestrian fatalities. You can go downtown Louisville and see near misses every day. I know we had a conference in September. GHSA was there, and I was not there, but from what I heard, you could just stand on the corner and just watch. Either people will be speeding through downtown or inattentive. Here's our logo for Walk Safe Kentucky. Brandy Kraft is our new VRU program manager. And so she just started probably within the last month. So she's still learning and will be for a little while. And so I tasked her with, giving us some goals, and so let me get to that. Number one, identify funding sources. Obviously NHTSA, GHSA, we have state funds available, federal highways, definitely. And we just received a grant from GHSA for the city of Dayton. So they have a youth active traffic safety grant that just started in Dayton, Kentucky. And so we've been challenged also with, working on for underserved communities and rural communities. Engage stakeholders, including KSPAN, Vision Zero in Louisville. Is there a Vision Zero in Lexington? Okay. Just other community groups. Establish educational program, for instance, middle schools. I think that's where we have to start, either elementary or middle schools. Once you get to high school, I mean, you can talk to the high schoolers, but I have 4 teenagers. I know how they act. I know how they think. So I think we need to talk to middle schoolers. And some of them are, expand digital footprint. And so we're already doing this, and we tend to be very targeted, and we've been doing that for 10 years. So, and we continue to do that. Let me go back. This is our website. I don't know if I can open this or not. Ashley, should I try this? Okay. Okay. So we have there's tips on here, there's statistics, and we also have videos that, and I'll tell you a little story here. We have,
walking, take these steps. Be visible. Pay attention. Use crosswalks. When it comes to pedestrian safety, please walk the walk. Walk safe, Kentucky.
we have a few like that, and we have campaigns, then we put them on YouTube as well. And so we, believe it or not, we did get some pushback from a local group. And this was back in 2021, I believe. And they said we were victim blaming or victim shaming, and, you know, and I said, okay, what did we do? And they said, well, we just add these tips and wear bright clothing and cross or crosswalk. I was like, heck, sounds pretty benign to me, but there was a lot of pushback, and so so that's one thing we're going to talk about at this summit. How do we get around that, or do we not? Because I mean, if someone's on their phone, engaged in whatever they're engaged with, and they're walking into traffic, I mean, that's, you know, we can't have that. And we see more, I think, drivers inattentive, looking at their phones, crossing an intersection. So, you know, we got pushback on that too. So my response, my immediate response was, I don't care. That's the message we're gonna push. And, you know, but I was told that I would care, but I don't know. We shall see. Evidently, Jason Swalla, I don't remember Jason. He was attacked online because of some of these. So if anybody has any suggestions, please let me know. So we've got the vulnerable road users. They fall under our strategic highway safety plan. And so that's where pedestrian safety lies as well. We talked about that last time. And this is the page that talks about vulnerable road users. And that leads me to complete streets, which Lloyd mentioned earlier. And that's something that Keith has spearheaded with the cabinet, and we have a consultant on board as well. And that just started last February 2022. And so basically complete streets are for everyone, and we have to design streets accordingly. I know the former mayor of Louisville, people have made fun of him, Mayor McBike Lane and stuff like that, but that's what complete streets is. It makes traveling safe for everyone. That's the goal. And so safety is number one on why do we need complete streets: funding, quality of life, and demand. People want complete streets. As you can see here, you know, that you have what's called a goat path on the side of the road. That's where people walk. That's something that we try to avoid. We want to have sidewalks. And there's another one. I believe this is in Lexington. Some of y'all might find that familiar. And there's another one. There's the Keith and Katie Rowe of Gresham Smith. I think they received an award for this project. We have a dashboard, and we're constantly working on this, and this will eventually replace the daily fatality report. There'll be a link, and it's more interactive. You can search any way you want. And I did receive a kind of a draft version, and this still may be a draft version, but on the pedestrian safety, so you can find out where your problem areas are in the state. And that's all I have today.
I have a question about, especially because I live in Louisville, big concern is we all do in urban environments about e-scooters. And so what is the status? Sometimes they're in the road, sometimes they're on the sidewalk. Oh, for those of you who didn't hear me, I'm asking about e-scooters, right? So those little things on the side of the road, you scan it with your QR code and you get on it with your cell phone. And I've almost been run down on sidewalks. They don't have a lot of lighting on them. I've seen people
riding around at night, you can barely see them. Is there any guidance on that?
Yeah, I know we've talked to our motorcycle coordinator about this, Jay Huber. I don't know if you know Jay, but, you know, they're not big fans of those either. Because it's like, it's a free for all. So, you know, I can get back with Jay and certainly respond to him, but I mean, it's, you know, they obviously they don't wear helmets, and they're, you know, sidewalks over the streets, like you mentioned, so.
There's a question from the chat. What percentage of drivers are involved in fatalities or injuries? What percentage of drivers involved in fatalities or injuries were distracted?
It's a great question. Probably the most underreported stat we have. I mean, we can tell you exactly how many alcohol-related crashes there are. We can tell you exactly how many unbelted fatalities there were. But distracted or inattentive, there are boxes on the citation or not on the crash report that can be checked, but a lot of it is due to self-reporting. Like, were you distracted? No, of course not. So, you know, if they can check and see if they were on it, yeah. And it's, you know, it's a process. Talk with cell phone companies and try to get that information. Not a good process.
Our Safe Kids Coalition has several different pedestrian focused programs. We work with our AAA partner doing some AAA school patrol where kids can, you know, wear the bright vest and help with some of the, you know, pedestrian traffic around school, you know, in a safe way. So we're, you know, doing some education pedestrian wise with, you know, a lot of school patrols at elementary schools. We always do, you know, walk to school day and pedestrian safety. That's always in October, like Bill said. And then during the distracted driving month of April, we typically do a program that we kind of label a twin danger, when you're the distracted pedestrian and a distracted driver, and you have both of those things, and how it leads to, you know, a lot of deaths with people in the roadway because, you know, the driver's not looking for the pedestrian's not looking for the driver. We do some work with Lexington Police with the crossing guard program that they oversee. We recently had a crossing guard that was hit by a vehicle. So, you know, there's just a lot of different opportunities if you really, you know, try to seek them out to do some pedestrian safety with people of all ages in your community. And as we're trying to be more biker friendly and pedestrian friendly communities for all those right reasons, I think this is something that, you know, we're trying to, you know, do more of with our campaigns and awareness. So, you know, if there's other ideas of things that have worked successfully in your communities, or you need help getting some of those things started, you know, I'd like to have a conversation.
Well, and to follow up on that, we sent out through the Department of Education, Eliza, I don't know, you know, Eliza, she's a transportation person at Department of Education. So she sent out a survey to all school districts about kids walking to school. What's your percentage? Have you had injuries? And so I think there's about 10 different questions. And so we received that information back, and our idea is to have a pilot project for engineering, enforcement, and education in these schools that meet the criteria and want to participate in some kind of pilot program. And so we're talking about low cost engineering, like maybe the rectangular lights, the flashing, reflecting lights, as well as crosswalks.
Maybe share with you. We did a study, and we did it in Bay County around certain schools that have a high population of pedestrians and then a lot of car riders and things like that. Seeing all that chaos with the different ways that kids, you know, get to school. So it had a lot of different things that we were looking, you know, where Osbrook crosswalks for crossing guards, just the design of, the enter exits and stuff like that, but it covered a very comprehensive piece, and I'll be happy to share that with you. Because, we ended up doing something with like middle schools, with a heads up, thumbs down campaign, and schedule, things, because they were they all stop, I was walking across the road. Because not everywhere, especially in subdivision, has, crosswalks, when you see kids at the end of school, they already, all over the place. So, but there's a lot of good things out there to be shared, getting.
Yeah, I know there's about 5 projects, I believe, scheduled in Jefferson, Oldham County. For this type of low cost engineering, and then so we're jumping in with education enforcement because we have grantees. We can add that to their contract. I know Oldham County, they said, we won't send anybody out to be a crossing guard. And so I know in Jefferson County, it's different. And, my question is why, and they said, well, we're just not allowed to, we're not allowed to put anybody else or anyone out there as a crossing guard. So I was like, okay. So that means we're gonna have to get police out there for a couple hours or a couple weeks until they figure out, because there's kids crossing everywhere.
I think crossing guards are needed, that's true. The benefit that we had an incident where one of our crossing guards was hit by a vehicle.
There's a big focus on impaired drivers, obviously, but I'm just curious as to, for pedestrians, those who are struck, has there been an increase in impairment among pedestrians? Because we're seeing obviously lots of substance use issues and so forth. So I'm just wondering if any of that's being driven by impairment by pedestrians as well as drivers.
That's a good question. I'm sure there's overlap in a lot of these areas. Like you'll have distracted driving, but they're also impaired. You'll have overlap in several different areas. I'm sure there is, especially in the downtown areas, Lexington, Louisville. I don't have those numbers, unfortunately. But I know that they can. I mean, I believe they can do that on the crash report. But
Robert, to answer your question that I can't answer directly, but looking at the collision analysis for the public, I just did an assessment around Southern Madison County, and what we're seeing is a lot of folks anecdotally, but also it's showing on the fatalities of people on state highways, usually 2-lane rural roads. US 25 is one, and such like that. And we also anecdotally know that we have a number of people that are, well, it's not homeless, it's unhoused people now. That's the term we're using, that do use those. And many of those are folks that are coming back and forth, and many of them probably are impaired. And again, some of that's anecdotal, but you can look on those maps and see exactly where they're happening. And that seems to be hot spots where those folks are traveling. So whether they're impaired or not, I don't know that it goes into that kind of detail, but just looking at a map, you can kind of see that that probably is an issue.
yeah, and on our dashboard, there is a mapping feature on that.
And one more suggestion, government suggestion from the chat. Have you considered focus groups for your pedestrian messaging?
Probably. I'd have to talk with our media person. I know we have focus groups for Buckle Up, Phone Down. But yeah, that is a great idea.
Hey, Joe. Then we're probably going to need to move on.
Okay, I'll make it quick. Bill, you mentioned a larger number of car seats being given out. My son works at Family Resource Center. He talks about like when families drop kids off, it's a school that serves a lot of low income and Hispanic families. And he said they pull up with no car seats. So they talked to him about it. What is the plan for getting those out to local communities? Is it too early to know that, or?
Probably. But because this bill is not, I mean, ink's barely dry on this bill, so we're still under the FAST Act until September 30th. So anything purchased, and I think the limit now is 5% under the FAST Act, but under BIL, it's mandatory 10%. That starts October 1. So yes, it is a little premature, but that's something probably needs to be on our horizon pretty soon. And that will be Tiffany Duvall.
Okay.
In our office.
Thank you, Bill. We really appreciate you giving us an update today. Thank you.